by longevity, member of Mission Toastmasters. He's a wild and crazy guy. The title of his speech is Stars and Planets. Please welcome Ron Gildo.
How many of you can look in the sky and identify particular stars by name? Jim, Mary Jo, Keith. I can't. It's just a bunch of little lights in the sky. And until I got an application on my iPhone, I couldn't even identify the planets. But now I can. I can see there's a large object in the sky above the horizon. I look at the iPhone and it says, aha, that must be Jupiter. So I know, or it's Saturn. So stars and I have not necessarily gotten along in terms of me knowing who they were. And this goes for human stars also. When I was a kid working in a grocery store, there was an actor named Gary Merrill, who if you were old enough would remember Gary Merrill. But he starred in 50 movies and was very famous, and people would go, oh, there's Gary Merrill. I would look, okay, I just didn't know who he was. This has plagued me my entire life. There's three basic categories of stars that I think you could run into. There's stars that you might see on video, in the old days what we call film. There's stars of sports, and there's music stars. And when it comes to music stars, I'm pretty much a failure. I once ran into a famous musician named Mickey Baker on a flight back from Europe, and we actually became friends, but I had no idea who he was. Now, in all fairness, his time was in the 50s, and I was only a kid then, and he pretty much moved to Europe and disappeared, so that makes sense. For stars of video, actors, I mean, we live in Santa Barbara. The place is crawling with these people. And I'll be walking along and someone will go, oh, look, there's whoever. Where? Who? I don't know who these people are. They're completely anonymous to me. In fact, I was flying to Toronto recently, and the person I was flying with, a traveling companion, pointed out the famous person up in first class. It's that actor. I forgot his name. He kind of looked familiar, but I didn't know who he was. He was just, a quintessential actor. I really didn't know. So I'm kind of a failure identifying these people. I hope it doesn't hurt their egos. I don't know who they are. I guess I hadn't thought of it that way. Like, they're not asking for my autograph. And then there's sports stars. This is an area that I'm particularly weak, because I can kind of, like watching a movie, recognize John Wayne, although I'm not likely to see him, or Marilyn Monroe, I can recognize them. But sports people, since I don't watch sports, I don't know who these people are. They're just a mystery to me. Except for maybe Eddie Merckx, who I would recognize it because I was a cyclist. When I was a kid growing up, I was a hockey enthusiast. I played hockey. I had hockey skates and a hockey stick. I lived in Montreal, Canada. Hockey was a normal activity. But I didn't really follow the game on television. It was more fun to play hockey than to watch it. So, as an adult, I drifted away from sports and really didn't know who was who. So I'm on a flight back from Toronto recently, and I get through a series of terrific accidents, I get bumped up further and further to the front of the plane until finally they got me in the first class section, which is terrific, because it was who wants to sit in cattle class? And I sit in my little seat and I'm so happy, this is exciting. And the guy next to me sits there, and then he disappears up to the top of the pilots. He was called up to talk to the pilot. I thought, this must be an Air Canada executive. He's kind of dressed in jeans and he kind of looks a bit scruffy. He's got a bit of a 2 or 3 day growth of beard. But okay, he's must be Mr. Big. Why else would he be called up to the cabin to talk to the pilot? So he comes back and I say, geez, did you give him advice on flying the plane? He laughs at me. And he reaches over his hand and he shakes my hand and says, "Hi, I'm Wayne." I say, "Hi, I'm Ron," and we talk for a while. We start talking about things and, you know, kids going to school and university and politics, and we talk about hockey because I liked hockey when I was a kid, and he starts talking more about hockey. And obviously he's obsessed about hockey. And he goes on and on and on about hockey. Well, eventually I figured out that this was Wayne Gretzky. Now, I did not know, I had heard of the name. He never said his last name, but I figured it out. But I didn't know, I just thought maybe he was like a, you know, he played on some team and he was just, you know, your everyday hockey player. I had no idea that until I got home and looked him up on Wikipedia, he was the world's most famous hockey player. I didn't even recognize him. I didn't ask him. People said, "Didn't you ask him for an autograph?" Well, he was just Wayne sitting next to me. And he was a really nice guy. He lives in Thousand Oaks, on a golf course, has kids, a wife, businesses. He's a regular person. And I got to thinking tonight, you know, about these famous people that are stars, and they are not really, in my mind, the stars. The stars, to me, are people like Jim, who manage the energy for the city of Santa Barbara. You're actually doing something useful and functional. Or Larry, who worked for the county fire department in hazmat. You're actually doing something useful and functional. Brian, you're keeping Mercedes on the road, so people who own their cars, like Wayne, can actually get from point A to point B. You're doing something useful. I think that all of us are the stars. It's not them. We actually do practical, useful, functional things. So, bravo to all of us, the real stars. Madam Postmaster.